I'm doing a bathroom one today. There's a reason for it. So this is not cross stitch, this is knitting no, it's mostly knitting. This video is mostly for my friend Ricky. We had a discussion about the merits of blocking knitting a few months ago now. I have to block a shawl that I've just finished, so I thought I would vlog the process and show you how I do it. The reason you block stuff is mostly just once you've finished knitting it to relax the stitches, and then especially if it's a lacy, although the one I'm doing today isn't, you open out the lace and you really make it pop, whereas if you've ever knitted a lace pattern and thought, oh, that doesn't look as good as I thought the photo would make it look, it's because you probably need to block it. Excuse me for being in the bathroom. This is my real life messy bathroom. I didn't tidy it for this video, so there we go. The first thing that I've done is soaked my knitting in fairly warm water, and it's cloudy partly because the knitting was dirty. You can see there's sort of like a browny tint to it, which is just the oils that the knitting picks up in your hands when you're knitting it. But it's also because I've got a soap in here. Now I would normally do this with a no rinse wash such as Soak or Eucalan, but I ran out and I bought a wool fat soap, which somebody has told me I can also use. So I've basically just shaved a few pieces of that into my water, and that's what I'm soaking my knitting in. I'm going to leave it in there for probably about half an hour. I shouldn't be agitating it because that will make it felt, but I'll leave it there for half an hour and then I will come back and dry it and stretch it out to show you the process. At the same time as doing that, I'm also soaking some hand spun. This is to set the twist. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of that for now, but I just thought you'd be interested to see that I don't only soak my knitting. Okie dokie, so this has now been in here for about half an hour and I'm just going to take it out of the water. I am going to give it a slight rinse because I'm not 100% sure what this soap which I've used is like. Okay, first thing is to remove the water. I'm not going to do too much rinsing because I do trust the soap relatively well. It's just mostly because I obsess about stuff, and if I don't rinse it I will always think that I'm being itched even if I'm not. One of the effects that blocking has on knitting, or just washing it really, is it makes it really sort of soften up and bloom. This feels so soft in my hands and I cannot wait to find out what it's going to be like once it's dry. Now this towel is pink because I don't know how colour fast the wool is. I do trust it to be relatively colour fast, but I didn't want to stain a towel if it wasn't already the right colour. Oh gosh, it's massive, it's grown immensely. So I'm just going to lay it out on the towel. I don't know how much of that you can see. Pretty good. And then I'm going to roll the towel up. It's important that it's clean because obviously you've just washed your knitting. You don't want to then undo all your good work by using a dirty towel. And then I'm going to roll it up. I don't know where I learnt this method, I don't know, it's just what I've always done. And then she says, stand on it for a bit. This just helps squeeze all the excess water out. I now don't consider a piece of knitting finished unless it's been blocked. Call me crazy. There we go. Okay, so this is my setup. I would normally do this on the spare bed in the guest room, which is a double bed, but I didn't have space, to be honest. This shawl is huge, so what I've done is I've come into the lounge and I've laid out some clean towels. These are some blocking mats. I'm not going to have anywhere near enough for the size of the shawl, so I'm just going to use this to block out the picot edge, which I will explain in more detail when we get there. You don't need blocking mats. If I was using the spare bed, I probably wouldn't be using them. It's just that I don't want to stick too many pins into the floor here. So I'm just going to take the knitting out. I would normally use blocking wires for this, but I'm going to go on the assumption that you don't have blocking wires. I will explain. So while you're right down at my level, I'm just going to lay the shawl out and figure out roughly how I want it to sit on my lovely bed of clean towels. So I'm going to put the picot edge up that end, because that's where the blocking mats are going to go. Get out of the way. This is my tip here. And I'm just laying the shawl out roughly how I want it to sit. Obviously this is a fairly simple shape, so it's not going to be too complicated, but if you were doing something like a jumper to a certain size, you would probably want to measure it and block it out to the size that you wanted it to be, because blocking will help keep it in that particular size. I'm just building my blocking mats up into the shape for the crescent now. These are I bought them for knitters, but you can just get children's blocks and I think they work just as well. And you can't see that at all, of course, well done. So I've just roughly laid the shawl out in the shape that I want it to be. The shawl is massive. This is my whole lounge floor. I'm going to start blocking right at that tip. I'm using T-pins. I have no idea what these were originally designed for, but they're what we all use in blocking, so therefore that's what I've got. Now on this shawl, it's the Fuss Free Festival Shawl by Louise Tilbrook. I've got a picot edge, so I'm just going to grab each point on that picot and pin it out to make that really stand out. I always like to caveat any sort of how-to that I do with, I am not a professional. Please don't take my word as gospel. If you disagree with my method, let me know. I'm self-taught. I teach myself everything, picking up a few lessons along the way from other people. I'm just going to block out this other edge here because it's starting to warp a bit. If you disagree with something I'm doing, please let me know in a constructive way, because it's always good to learn what other methods are out there. It's best to use rust-free pins if you can get them, because obviously you're going to be getting them wet by doing this. I 100% underestimated how many pins I was going to need for this. You will have seen me adjusting that. Oh god, here comes trouble. You can see there that I've just, that curve is not as curvy as I want, so I'm going to spend some time readjusting my pins and getting the cat out of the way. I'm happy with the shape that I've got on the right there with the picot edge. Now I'm just going to stretch the left side out. I'm less fussed about the left side. I just want it to sort of balance. I'm not going to do that top edge. There are probably some very experienced knitters out there who are gasping at my cavalier attitude, but my opinion is I don't care what other people think. If I'm happy with the way that I do it, I'm going to do it that way. Just one thing here, I'm going to be quite careful not to make like these, well, I'll demonstrate, these massive bows here, because that will come out. So I've got to try keep this quite an even, curve. But I'm also in a bit of a rush because I've got to get this done before the boyfriend gets home and sees what I've done to the lounge. Because once it's in, it's too late. I mean, it's already a bit too late, but if he doesn't realise I've literally just finished it by the time he gets home, can't get in trouble, right? Right, there we go. I was editing this video last night and I suddenly realised that I hadn't actually finished it. So when I picked my blocking up off the floor the following morning, it was completely dry, so I just pulled all the pins out and it was basically ready to go. I'm not going to show it to you live in person. I'll put some photos in because today is the hottest day in the UK in 40 years. I don't really feel like messing around with knitting, I hope you understand. Anyway, I hope some of you found this useful and interesting, and if you're interested in videos like this then let me know. I do so many different things and it's always fun to show people how you do stuff. I'll pop a link to the shawl pattern in the description box as well as the yarn that I used, which was 4, how many colours were there? 4 one-of-kind colourways that Linda of Kettle Yarn Company sent to me, so you won't be able to buy them, but the yarn was lovely. Adding that, having said right in the bit where I was washing it that I wasn't sure if it was colour fast, it wasn't because I didn't trust any processes that any yarn dyer in particular uses. I just know that sometimes you get a yarn that isn't colour fast and I like to mitigate it. It doesn't make a difference who provided the yarn or what the manufacturer is, it's just part of my process. Anyway, I'm going to go and try find a way to cool down, eat all the ice cream. I'll see you all soon. Bye! Look at this cat. She's so hot. She keeps on just meowing and complaining and moving around the house to places that she hopes is cooler. Are you cooler here? Are you cooler here? Oh, I won't touch you anymore then.